Thank you so much for watching Landumc Goes There. Please subscribe and hit the like button and the bell notification button. To serve as counter-programming to the real heavy police procedural dramas of the 1970s, NBC created a series called CHiP's, which premiered on September 15th, 1977. In doing so, it took a much lighter approach to law enforcement. California Highway Patrol officers Frank Poncherello, also known as Ponch, played by Eric Estrada, and John Baker, played by Larry Wilcox, rarely encountered anything more serious than a freeway pileup, and families seemed to enjoy this. The series developed into a solid merchandising and rating success. It ran for a total of 139 episodes over 6 seasons. In real life, CHP officers rarely ride in pairs. In early episodes, this was explained away by placing the trouble-prone Ponch on probationary status, with John assigned as his field training officer. Eventually, by the end of the first season, this subplot faded away. Ponch had completed his probation, as audiences were used to seeing the two working as a team. When Eric Estrada left the series during the beginning of its 5th season over a salary dispute, producers hired Olympian Bruce Jenner to replace him. The athlete, who was already working for NBC Sports as a commentator, also happened to be an experienced motorcycle rider. When Estrada came to an agreement with the production company and returned to work, Jenner's character slowly evaporated from the series, lasting just 7 episodes in total. On-screen co-stars Estrada and Wilcox had each other's backs. Off-camera, things were a different story. When Wilcox got married in 1980, he made it a point not to invite Estrada, and he even made the comment that the two had argued ever since the show began. He told reporters that he thought it was just asinine to pick someone for a role strictly because they were photogenic. As far as cop shows go, CHiP's had a pretty conservative approach to ammunition. According to some fan tallies, a gun was drawn by police in just 3 of the 139 episodes, and never by Estrada or Wilcox. This was an intentional thing. Because of the show's 8 p.m. family time slot, that's the way they wanted it perceived. They wanted it to be about helping pedestrians, or people in trouble, or young kids who were straying. Pretty much unlike the actors of today, Estrada insisted on doing his own motorcycle stunts. While shooting a 1979 episode, the actor was critically injured when he lost control of his bike while cruising around for a scene. Braking abruptly, he flew into a parked car chest first. The bike landed on top of him. He broke 8 ribs, his sternum, his collarbone, and his wrist. When he finally returned to work, they put some limitations on what he could do and what he couldn't do. But then, not to be outdone, Wilcox flipped his motorcycle the following year, suffering a concussion. With the tensions between Wilcox and Estrada unresolved, Wilcox elected to leave the show just as it was beginning its 6th and final season. The character of Baker was replaced with Bobby Hot Dog Nelson, played by Tom Riley, with this switch prompting a sharp decline in the ratings. Riley made news in December of 1982, when United Press International reported that he was arrested by actual motorcycle officers for suspicion of driving under the influence of drugs. Riley pled innocent to these charges. His role in the series ended up getting reduced, and then the show got completely canceled. Though Eric Estrada didn't get top billing in the show, his blinding white smile and his good looks quickly became a pop cultural staple. It's said that his appearance was a major influence over Victor Willis of the Village People. Willis took notice of his extra-tight patrolman uniform, and he adopted it for his role as the cop in this musical group. In reality, Ponch was supposed to be Italian. The role of Frank Poncherello was originally Poncherelli, and the producers envisioned this guy as being an Italian character. They changed their minds when Estrada auditioned for the role. The critics and media observers at that time weren't too kind to the show during its first season, describing it as completely dreadful. The show's fortunes improved in the second season, when NBC moved it from Thursdays to Saturdays, where it began its winning time slot. After completing 5 seasons, the show was sold into syndication in the fall of 1982. To avoid viewer confusion between reruns and new episodes, MGM retitled it CHiP's Patrol. This was a completely redundant statement, as CHP is an acronym for California Highway Patrol, making the completed series title called California Highway Patrol Patrol. Mego Toy Company was quick to pounce on the popularity of this series, offering 8-inch action figures and vehicles. Their CHiP's products were said to have been made out of reused molds from other lines that they did, like Fonzie's motorcycle, Klingon boots from Star Trek. But the real disappointment was that these figures, when they sat on shelves too long, just didn't last. The toy company had real poor quality control, and the plastic they used for the bodies seemed to react badly with the plastic on the packaging, tinting their heads from flesh-colored to a sickly gray. Collectors called it zombie disease, and it was reputed at the time to be potentially toxic. Now, one of the highlights of the show was the beautiful Randi Oakes. She played Officer Bonnie Clark on the series. She holds one of the most dubious titles that there is in Hollywood. She appeared on multiple editions of Circus of the Stars and was a frequent competitor on Battle of the Network Stars. Her claim to fame, though, was that she was dunked more times than any other competitor in the baseball dunk event. She eventually retired from acting pretty young, after the birth of her first child. She was married to Gregory Harrison, and all she wanted to do was raise her kids and enjoy her family. She's glad she did acting at one time, but she's not one that ever studied it or ever sacrificed anything to be an actress. It wasn't like she was trying to fulfill a dream of hers. In being exposed to Hollywood, she realized that this is a pretty dirty business, and it has a really ugly underbelly, something she didn't want to contend with as time went on. Take a look at a CHiP's episode. They're always fun to watch. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll continue to chase the classics.